Alright people, here I am again tonight, starting all over again about the things I've been talking about, harping about for the last 4 sessions. This is the 5th one today. The reason I come back on here tonight is because of I got some news. Those letters that I sent off to the congressman and senator, the congressman and the governor and Channel 3 News and Fox News and the newspapers and all, begin to get some answers back from certain people. And I figured I'd just drop a line to you and let you know what they're saying. I got a letter back here from the congressman and everything. Miss Martha Roby, member of Congress. And it comes from the Congress of the United States House of Representatives on June the 19th. Now these people here, this is a congressman, so being a congressman, it seemed like they'd know the system pretty good the way it's set up. But let me just drop a thing in here before we get started on this. DHR notified me years ago that complaints you make to them and everything else, they follow up on them, and then if they think something should be done about it, they'll take the child out of whatever danger they may feel that's in. And then when you go to court and everything, DHR fill out a paperwork and they'll send it in to the judge to look over it and see what all they think about it and everything else, and it's for him to make that decision. It's not DHR's decision to make, it's the judge's. The only thing DHR can do is just fill out the paperwork, make a recommendation what needs to be done. But like I said, the final straw goes to the judge. And you figure people of Congress and governors and everything else would know this. What I do now, because I advised them today. She writes back to me. She tells me that as a member of Congress, I have justification over issues between a consideration of the federal government, but lack justification over matters involving a state agent such as DHR. Now let me say something about this right here. She may have justification over matters that goes to the state, to the federal, and not to the state. But when it comes to our kids, that goes to a federal issue because it's concerning all the kids in this country, not just the state of Alabama. I made that clear from the very get-go. This ain't got nothing to do with just these kids here. It has something to do with all the kids. So yes, it does go to a federal issue that they need to take a look at. But naturally, they're going to pass the buck on down the line to somebody else. And this is exactly what she done. She told me that she got with the governor of Georgia, which I already wrote the governor of Georgia letter. The governor of Alabama letter, excuse me. The governor of Alabama letter, the same one that she got is the same copy that I sent the governor of Alabama. They're the same. That was from my congressman. She goes as far as to give me Kay Ivory's number at the Capitol down here in Alabama and everything, Montgomery. Even give me her phone number. Well, I got my letter back from OK here too. Why is that? It's so funny how the senators and congressmen and the governors, they all stick together on things like this here. To me, it's kind of funny. I don't think none of them really knows what they're doing, to be honest with you. And a letter from this and here is the Alabama Department of Human Resources, which is DHR, handles all questions concerning this nature. Therefore, I have directed my staff to forward your complaints. Now, let me make myself clear. I called her today, talked to her little secretary. I tell you, little secretary, I think the secretary reads these letters and it don't go no further because the secretary didn't make a mistake. She said, yes, I remember I read the letter. She didn't have no business reading that letter. That letter I wrote was to the governor, not to her. So we'll make that clear from the get-go too. She goes and recommended I call the ones that's over the judges and everything. Because I explained to her it wasn't over just one case, it's over these judges and all. I didn't have to call them. Matter of fact, the governor's office directed a line right to the people that's over the judges and everything. And as I told that lady, look, I talked to y'all over 2 weeks ago. You're supposed to be sending me some paperwork, which you never have. And I just trying to find out what's going on. Well, she promised me she's going to put it right out in the mail today, because I told her the way I got in touch with her was from the governor's office, which you know that anyway probably. So she's going to send me the paperwork, send it out tomorrow, today I mean, so I'll be getting it by Saturday or Monday at the latest, if they send it, which they didn't the first time, but if they do. But always going to be a slap on the wrist. Don't do that no more, Judge. Watch what you say and what you do. You're making a few people kind of ill. Well, these few people's got a right to be ill. Or these kids are thrown out to the wolves, and these judges are the ones doing it, and your congressmen and your governors don't really care. You say, well, Danny, you can't say that. Oh, yes, I can. If you send them notifications, you send them stuff showing the guilt of this individual and the way it was handled over 11 years, well, then it just shows, tell me one thing. Either they didn't read the letter because their secretary did, or somebody else, or they really just ain't got time to fool with this issue. I heart my complaint. I'm going to continue to until I feel like they step in there and change the system. Look, changing this system, it's not wrote in stone. It's a law. Laws can be changed. And they'll be changed if enough people get behind them to change them. Well, I figure if I'm going to get behind any law to be changed, it's going to be for the kids. All the rest of these laws don't make much sense to me anyway. They got so many we have that we don't know what we're doing right or wrong in this country, because all we got is a bunch of lawyers that's running this country. If you look around, most of you senators and congressmen, all of them have been judges, not judges, excuse me. They've been lawyers, and majority of them has been. Maybe a few doctors, maybe a few this or that. And anytime you get a bunch of lawyers together, you're going to get them nitpicking around, and nothing ever going to get done. Good example, look now. That's what's going on in this country. It don't take no rocket scientist, and it don't take no 63 years that I've been through to see this. I've seen this a long time ago. And it don't take no college degree. All it takes is a little bit of common sense. The problem that we're lacking on so much. It takes a few men to start standing up and being men again. And I don't see that out of very many of them. They want to hide behind somebody's coattail to do the dirty work. As the judge did on my part. He wasn't man enough to tell me that if you look at me like that again, I'm going to hold you for contempt while I was looking at him. He waits till I go out in the chambers and send a little lawyer out there to tell me this. That ain't much of a man in my book. I think if you're going to do something, go on and do it and be done with it. And like I said, this issue between me and the judge is pulled away from what the real issue is, and that's the child. But let me say this much. The judge will have a college degree, as he has probably, and been through law school and everything else. Number one rule is you stick with the law, and you don't let your personal emotions get involved between you and what the law says, which he has. If not, he wouldn't be holding me for contempt. He'd been throwing, I never would, if the judge is done like they're supposed to, I wouldn't never be seeing this one anyway. This thing been over 10 years ago. And I wouldn't have no problem. Justin, he had been adopted by me, and I never would have to put up with their mama. Neither one of them come around as a thorn in my side. And the only reason I got this thorn in my side, because the system don't want to take it out. I didn't put it there, they did. I love to get it out, and I want to get it out not just for myself, but for a lot of other grandmas and grandpas that's fixing to go through the process of raising a child that they shouldn't have to really, but they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart. This is the way our system repay us for doing good deeds. And then we always want to do our good deeds, especially if I love the Lord. You're going to do it anyway, even though you're going to get stomped on by the people that you expected. They at least stand by the kids. Care less they stand by me. I'm a grown man. I'm old. But a child, that's uncalled for. I went by Channel 3 today. I left a message to made 2 copies of what I got from the congressman and from the governor. And I told the lady there at the reception to tell the woman there at Channel 3, which I ain't heard nothing out of them, and I definitely ain't heard nothing out of Fox Channel over there in Columbus. I don't even think Fox really care. But I ain't heard nothing out of them, and I told her, look, if you're not interested, I'll go and get the stuff that I left with you I'll get it back. And, I won't bother you or your time no more. I can understand that. But I'm going to continue to go on this internet thing right here, hoping everybody put the word out on what's going on. Think about our kids, y'all. That's very important. That's number one, is these kids. I harp and complain a lot, but these papers here that I've got in the mail today shows me how much this country really cares, our leaders do, for our kids. You say, well, Danny, that's a cop-out. No, let me say something. Our kids is more important than any Russian tapping into our election. Our kids is more important than people coming across the border. Our kids is more important than anything in this world. It should be God and your kids, because our kids is our next generation. Our kids is going to be the ones that vote. And remember that, politicians. Will you be Democrat or Republican? Your bleeding heart goes out here and you cry for other countries and the heartache they're going through. Look at the heartache you putting the kids through in this country. You need to open your eyes. The gang members we got and the drugs are on the streets because you turn your back on these kids. And they have no respect for authority at all. And they got a right to feel that way too. If you was raised up in the system practically almost all your childhood, how are you going to feel? You remember going to court and getting thrown right back in the same thing you got out of. So how would you feel? That's a mental stress on a child. Believe it or not, Judge, it is. You get all these shrinks you want to come up here and testify for these people saying they doing good on their rehab and all this good stuff here. But let me tell you something. If you're going to quit, you're going to quit. If you ain't, you ain't. There's no ifs or buts about it. It takes the idea of putting it in your mind what you're going to do, and then you're going to do it. But like I said, I come back on here for a few minutes to chat with you and let you know what's been going on this issue here concerning these kids, the way they're getting the bad deals done for them, which is wrong. I guess you say, well, I'm retired after having a stroke and everything else, then I have nothing no better to do. Well, I figured this the best thing in the world to do, is see if we can't get something changed for all these kids. I think we need to go in here and they need to come in here and clean house on judges. Clean house on some of these lawyers too, while they at it. They always told me I always had a boss over me no matter where I worked. I worked in construction all my life. And if I was a boss, there's a boss over me, and there's a boss over him. Well, the highest the chain goes is to the president. I called today, I guess I act like a fool complaining. We'll sit down and write him a good letter. Mr. Trump, a little letter about the situation going on down here in the Bible Belt of the South, the ones that push to get you in office. Well, it's time for the people to stand up for these kids. Kids all over, and it's not just kids in the South, they're all over the North and everywhere else. You ever thought maybe Chicago killing rate's so high because of the kids that they just neglect it? Our great politicians good about running their mouth, but they ain't good about backing up what they say. At one time I voted for Trump, like I said the other night, because I was a Republican. But it's getting to a point where I don't want to be neither one Republican or Democrat, because all you get now of them is a bunch of liars. And I don't like a liar. I believe if you're going to do something, go on and do it and be done with it. I'm praying that y'all consider on passing this on down the line. And hey, maybe it may hit out there on the mainstream. And people start looking around and start taking notice. We look around for Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all the rest of them. We need to be looking around the way we're doing our kids. Next time you see a kid walk around there and look like he's lost, he probably is, because he ain't got no parents. He probably staying with his grandparents, or somebody they just throwed off on the state did just to get him out of their way. This woman that done this to Angel and Justin, their mother, she got 3 kids at her house now. 2 of those kids went back because DHR didn't want to put them in a home or step in and say, hey, look, these kids don't need to be with her. No, Miss Lee, the little lady that I love dead more than anything in this world, 7 years old, took the 2 little girls and gave them back to her mother. I told Miss Lee, I said, it won't be long, they'll probably get in touch with you again. because she goes back to the same thing over and over again. I pray these kids that nothing happens to them. And I wish the HR would get up and do their job. How can you turn 3 kids over to a person who just got out of jail for 3 counts of child endangerment, cooking up crystal meth? You tell me. DHR should have stepped in right then. Even after she gave birth to that little boy, they should have took him right then. No. No, that ain't the way the system is set up. Because that's the judges and the lawyers' money supply that's hanging on there. That down the road, them kids going to be in the system and they're going to be going through the same thing. Because she's not going to quit until she's dead or put away for life 1 or something like that. Which I hope that don't happen. I hope really she gets her life straight now. But she don't do it. She don't need to try to do it with these kids. These kids need to be away from her completely. But then that's my opinion. But then again, I'm the one that sit here and can testify to everything that went on with these kids I've got, that they have been seeing and the way they've been treated. It's a mental stress on these kids. It ain't worth it. The mental stress that a judge put on there. You say, Dan, you can't. Oh, yes, I can blame him too. Because he's got the authority to say no. Enough's enough. Remember, that's the headline. When is enough enough? And I'll keep saying that. When is enough enough? Well, I'm going to get off this thing now. I spent over 16 minutes with you already talking to you. That's too much for me because it makes me feel like I'm long-winded. But I hope and pray. If you pray to God all these little kids that's thrown back into the wolf's den, that God's angels will watch over each and every one of them and protect them. For they need it more than anything. You pray for these judges making such stupid decisions by turning them back over because they need it. You pray for this country also because it needs it too, real bad. Well, I think I talked long enough, and I'm going to see if I can't close this thing down. And I pray that each and every one of you have a wonderful night and sleep well tonight. And if you don't see you tomorrow, I pray the good Lord open his hands up for you and welcome you in. And y'all have a wonderful day and a wonderful night. And goodbye.